Welcome to the Tattoo Marketing Podcast. On this week's episode, we have the second part of our podcast with Cris Rodriguez, who is an absolute stud. This week, we talk about the follow-up process, calling versus texting leads, and leadership skills. Now, this is something we'll also be touching on a lot in the future, because one of the biggest issues we see is the follow-up process when somebody is interested in getting a tattoo from a shop. They usually just get nothing for follow-up. So anything is better than nothing, and we will cover that in the future. Enjoy. Yeah, Cris, welcome again to the podcast.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Jesse. What are we talking about this go around?
So this go around is an extremely important thing when it comes to marketing, because you can spend all the money on marketing in the world, but if you are not picking up your phone, if you are not following up with somebody who is requesting a consultation for a tattoo, you're just throwing that away. And we see this huge difference in shops, even in similar and close locations. And the only difference is the follow-up. I mean, when we think organic, this is somebody that has found you, has been referred to you. This is somebody that already knows they want your service. When you're coming from Google, what I usually use the analogy is, it's like if you call the plumber, they didn't pick up, you're not going to wait for them to call you back. You're going to call the next plumber. I just kind of want to drive that home.
Yeah, so we are a social media marketing agency. We pretty much specifically focus on lead generation. We don't even do websites. So like SEO websites, that's not what we're focusing on. It's just like paid media, which can get you results really, really quickly. I mean, I think that's one of the things that I loved so much about Facebook and Google ads. And one of the reasons why I wanted to develop that skill set, because I could literally have, prospects on tap. We've all heard the quote, "Fortune is in the follow-up." We know it. We believe it. I bet many of you are probably married to a significant other that you had to do some follow-up with in order to secure the bag, right? I know I did with my wife. We understand that is how relationships work, but we still get a lead, hopefully call, text, and email, which I call the trifecta. And if you're not doing all three of those, you need to be. And then if they don't pick up or they don't respond, they go into this black hole of leads that you never follow up with again. And like Jesse said, if they are looking for whatever it is that you sell, they didn't just find you on Google. They found a couple of other people as well, and a couple of other businesses as well. And it's silly to assume that you were the only person they clicked on, that you were the only person whose email list or newsletter that they opted into. So I don't know about you. I don't want to be last. I want to be first. And if I'm going to be first, I have to have speed to lead. Money loves speed. And there are so many studies out there that show those leads are going to go cold in 5 minutes. How cool is it for you to get a lead? Your marketing agency notifies you with a text or a phone call. You pick up the phone and call that person, and they're still on your website, or they're still looking at your ad. Okay. You might not secure the sale, but you will get the first at bat. And what most businesses are not willing to do is to have that sense of urgency with following up with the prospect. Now, we work with martial arts schools, and to me, martial arts is a vehicle that one could use to reach their human potential. So Joe Rogan said that when he got his black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Martial arts is a vehicle to reaching someone's human potential. I'm sure shop owners have heard story after story after story of the impact of what their work has done for the people that they've done work on. So the way that I look at it is, you are doing a disservice to the prospect if you do not instantly reach out and then continue to reach out until they tell you to stop reaching out. I am literally hurting their ability to step into the potential that they have if I do not get them in my martial arts school? Like, that's the type of mindset you have to have when you are dealing with prospects. So you got to follow up within those first 5 minutes. It can't just be phone. It can't just be text. It can't just be email. It needs to be all three, because everybody has a specific preferred communication, right? That could be email for some. It could be text message for others. And don't just assume it's 2023. Nobody likes to talk on the phone, because that is just not true. And you're going to be able to build better rapport with the person on the phone. Okay. If you have a 10-minute phone conversation versus a 4 interaction text message conversation, the phone call is going to connect them to you and your business deeper than a text message and an email. So why doesn't anybody want to do it? Because it takes more effort. But you know what? It's not supposed to be easy, guys. The people that are crushing it in business, I think that's one of the biggest misconceptions that entrepreneurs have, is they think that it's, supposed to be easier than it is. Like, no, it's a lot harder than you think it is. So whatever level of hard you think it is, I want you to like 5x it, because that's truly the people that are playing at the top of their game. That's the effort that they are putting in. And look, if you're first getting started, that person is you. But eventually, once you get really good at it, once you get your systems and processes in place, once you have additional revenue, you can hire other people to do that for you. So that's, it starts with speed to lead. And then the issue after that is, if you don't get a hold of them, you don't pick up the phone again. And, there's plenty of studies that say it takes 7, 8, or 9 times. If you call 7 times, you're going to have a 90% higher chance of booking that person on an appointment. And it's just that, and I'm not letting you guys use this as an excuse, but I just know there's a lot of different hats we wear, right? Especially if you're first getting started. Like, you're not just the artist, you're doing everything else. You're probably also the janitor, right? You got to take your own trash out. You got to clean everything, right? You got to do all the inventory orders. So I understand there's a lot of hats that you're wearing, but every single day on your schedule, you need to have a meeting time where you are doing lead follow-up. The same way that at 4 p.m. you have somebody coming in for a consultation, at 6 p.m. you have somebody coming in for their second session, at 9 p.m. you have somebody else. You're not going to skip out on those meetings. You cannot skip out on the meeting with yourself to pick up the phone and book the appointments. And, there's certain services out there, if you really don't want to do it, like in my agency, we have a concierge agent service where we'll get the lead for you. So we'll launch the ads and produce the lead, and then we will call them and book them for you. So, like I said on the previous podcast, we always have to choose as business owners, do I want to spend my time and energy, or do I want to spend my money? And if you have the additional cash flow based off of where you're at, and you're like, I just don't want to be the one to book appointments, well, you either hire somebody part-time to start to do it for you, or you hire an agency that can do it for you. But fortune's in the follow-up, and it's got to be time blocked on your schedule every single day to be following up with your prospects to book consultations.
100%. And one of those studies, when you're talking about speed to lead, has shown that 76% of people are going to do business with the first company that contacts them. That's huge.
Yeah. You want to get the at bat first, right?
Yeah. So answering quickly. And then as shop owners, a lot of you guys have some of you have front desk people, a lot of you have apprentices that can't tattoo yet. Have them do this follow-up. If you don't have apprentices, Cris was saying, hire somebody, talk to us. But a lot of business owners are afraid to spend their money on something they're not 100% sure about, but they also don't want to spend the time to do it. And all you're doing is hurting yourself. I mean, if you're getting 80 consultation requests, you're only booking 15 to 20 of those through Google Ads. There's another 60 that were interested. I mean, even if you can get half of those in the next month, how much revenue is that going to bring your shop?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure what else to add in terms of the importance of following up. It's like, do you hate money or do you like money? Like, money, don't follow up. If you like money, then you need to be, following up. And it's not just money. It's also, freedom and impact. And, if you can build a shop that has, other tattoo artists in there that can help build the business, right, it's going to provide more opportunities for others. And I think you're doing, yourself and your prospects a disservice for not consistently following up. And it's not just following up. It's also, you need to have a framework of what you're going to say on the phone call in order to book them, right? It just can't be like, hey, saw that you were interested in getting a tattoo. You want to come in at 4 p.m.? Like, I don't have a framework for shops. I've got a framework for martial arts schools, but you need to have some type of framework. It's going to build your confidence to pick up the phone. And, when we are more confident in doing something, we're going to do it more often. And, what I don't want you to do is, if you do have an apprentice, that's awesome, but it shouldn't be like, yo, there's 50, phone numbers all over there, give them a call and try to book them in. You got to give them a framework that they can work off of. And it's not just, hey, here's the framework. You got to role play with them. You've got to audit their phone calls, because then you're just going to say, oh, they can't book appointments. Well, you're training them on how to do tattoos. Probably should need to train them on the other aspects of the business that you want help with.
That's a very good point. Yeah, definitely don't just throw somebody into it. Role play with them and listen to the calls, because that's where you're going to get the most amount of information, and be able to make all those tweaks. That is a huge point. Another thing that I think people, why they don't want to call, is the fear of rejection. They don't want to follow up a bunch of times. They're afraid of annoying people. But these people gave you their information. They said that they were interested. And especially in this day and age, if you're putting in your information, whoever you gave that to is going to be calling you, texting you, emailing you. So it's implied when they put their information in. I mean, I know myself, I'm sure you, Chris, like we want something, we get busy, we forget somebody called, we forget we got a text, or there's 500 emails that we have to answer and we missed one of them or something. Like, follow up. Just because somebody didn't answer the first call or the first text doesn't mean they're not interested. It means they're doing something.
They're busy. It was interesting. I've been wanting to complete this part of my arm for some time, and I knew the person that I wanted to use. So, I opted into their list, and basically they only opened up their calendar a certain amount of times. And I think it was like quarterly, right? So you would get an email that quarter saying, hey, I'm opening up my calendar for the next one, email me back. And it had a bunch of just a list of questions, right? Like, what days are you available? What did you want to do? What's the size? All of this, right? So I submitted, and this is somebody that has already done work on me, right? So it's not like I'm some stranger. I submitted my email 3 quarters in a row, okay, and never got a response. 4th quarter comes around, I submit it again, right? And I mean, they pre-frame like, we only have a certain amount of spots. Okay, I get it, right? 4th quarter comes around, I finally get a response. You know why I got a response? Because he hired an admin, and it was the admin that had responded and literally said, we know we've been really bad about following up with responses. I now work for the company and I can get you booked. And I'm just thinking, how much business did this guy lose because he did not follow up with the people that are saying, I am ready. Here is my wallet. I got money. I'm trying to pay you. And I mean, he even admitted, he was like, yeah, I'm just really bad at email. I'm like, bro, come on. If that's you, shop listener, all right, don't let that be you.
So funny that you should mention that you are the 3rd person from 7FA that I've had on this show. And you are the 3rd person that has had almost the exact same experience. The 2 others, Ray and Toby, both went into tattoo shops, were interested. The guy said they were busy. So that took their information, and then they just never heard from them.
Yeah, it's nuts.
You're 3 out of 3. I mean, how crazy is that? Just in those 3, there's probably thousands of dollars in tattoos in the 3 people I have talked to from a single group.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of other people that have that experience. And, my challenge to anybody that owns a shop, and this was a challenge that I saw when I opened up my school, which I own a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school, is to level up the industry. Don't be the reason why people think like, oh, it's just another mom and pop karate store, right? Or it's just, oh, there's another tattoo shop that popped up. They're going to be gone in a couple of years. You got to level up your industry. And when somebody is trying to give you money, take it.
Yeah. And like we talked about with how much growth has been in the last podcast, what we talked about with how much growth there is in the tattoo industry, but there's no level of marketing. Like right now is like the early adopter phase that you can get into this. Because in 6 years, when this industry doubles, it's going to be a necessity, and you're already going to be like, it's like getting in a Bitcoin in 2020. You should have got in 2015 and you would be rich by now.
Yeah.
There's just so much opportunity right now, but when that pie gets cut thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, and the margins get worse, this is going to become mandatory for everybody, or the shop's going to go out of business. And then you're going to go from being a shop owner to working at a shop, which, nothing wrong with that. But there's just so much opportunity on all levels of marketing. And when I say levels of marketing, listen to the last podcast I had Cris on, because we went over that. There's 7 levels. But it's the Wild West right now. It's nuts. Like our cost per click on Google is 70 to 90 cents. Like it's crazy.
That's insane.
Yep. But give it 6 years. I guarantee you it's going to be different.
Yeah. So. I think, you and I had talked prior to you just getting started within the agency about, the difficulties in potentially scaling something like a tattoo shop, right? Because it is so based off of the skill set of that particular tattoo artist. And one of the things that I noticed that I never really spent a lot of time in the beginning developing was the importance of leadership skills. And I think that is just incredibly important in your industry as well, because if you are going to scale, you can't be the only person that is, in the shop tattooing, because then you're just trading your time for dollars. And the importance of developing the leadership so that you do have people that come to you and want to become apprentice, and developing training programs so you can develop more tattoo artists that can work inside of your business. I think it's just a missing puzzle piece that often when, we start a passion project or we open a passion business, which often, tattoo artists, they're doing it because they're incredibly passionate about art. Same thing. You open up a martial arts school because you're incredibly passionate about martial arts, but you have got to develop other people around you that have that skill set as well in order to really grow it. If you want to grow it, maybe you're completely happy just being the one that's the only one, tattooing in there, but you are going to limit your ability of growth. So besides picking up the phone and calling, start developing those leadership skills as well.
Yeah, leadership is huge. We have a shop here in Wenatchee. We're in the middle of Washington State. There's about 50,000 people. Like there's Seattle and Spokane, both 2.5 hours away. Like we're considered a smaller town. We're the biggest one around here, but we're not big. One of the biggest tattoo shops in Washington State is in our town, and is because the owner is the nicest guy you'll ever meet and a great leader and a good artist, obviously.
Yeah.
But
yeah, for sure. I love it. That's so cool.
Yeah. It makes a big difference. Cris, I know you got a meeting in 10 minutes. Any parting words of wisdom?
No, I just, really appreciate everybody listening. And, what I'll say is, I identify as a martial artist, right? I'll always identify as a martial artist. I'm sure, our shop owners or tattoo artists, you guys identify as an artist in that sense, but that is not going to make you a successful business owner. So you have to understand the different skill sets that are necessary in order to grow, in order to increase your income, in order to have more freedom, in order to have more flexibility in your life. And it's just a different skill set than, what made you a great artist. Now there's definite some characteristics, right? If you became a great artist, you probably put a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of effort into drilling and practicing and drawing. That same level of time and energy and effort needs to be put into developing your skills as a business owner. And you are, do not call yours. I would not, like, if somebody asks, what do I do? I don't say I'm a martial artist. I say, like, I own a martial arts school. I am a business owner. And you've got to take on that identity of being a business owner, not just the person that, does tattoos. So those are my parting words.
Those are great parting words. Cris, I massively appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Anytime, Jesse. Thanks so much.